Everyone got their makeup on?
Oh, absolutely. And the new haircut.
Walter do that?
No.
Okay, we are now live on YouTube. Turning it over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Clerk. And we'd like to welcome each and every one of you out there to the first ever appearance of the Township of Douro-Dummer and a live council meeting. Throughout this COVID-19 epidemic, we have certainly taken advantage of whatever technology we can to continue our council meetings. And that is what we're doing tonight for the very first time. I would like to welcome all members of council. I thought we might go around the table here and introduce ourselves, and we'll make sure everyone can see and hear us. We'll start with Sheila. Go ahead.
Sheila Landsman.
Tom?
Tom Watt?
Heather?
Heather Watson.
And Carl?
Carl Moher.
Okay, thank you. And our two staff people with us, we've met our clerk, Crystal, and Martina is our temporary CAO. Welcome. Now, we will conduct our meeting tonight the same way that we conducted live in our council chambers. So there shouldn't be a whole lot different. We can see each other's face, and motions are going to be made yay or nay by your hand, like that. All in favor, you would put your hand up like that, and we will do our best to count the votes. Okay, again, we're going to start off our meeting prior to our agenda with just a short moment of silence. And of course, we all know about the terrible tragedy to our friends in Nova Scotia. Unbelievable how these things can happen. But in our small way here in the Township of Douro-Dummer, we want everyone to know that we care. They are our friends and neighbors, and we would like to have a moment of silence to show them we care. Okay, thank you, everyone. We will now get underway with our meeting. We do remind everyone who is watching and listening that we are officially in a state of emergency here in the Township of Douro-Dummer, as is the County of Peterborough, as is the province of Ontario. Our council meetings are now beginning. We're going to ramp them up as we move along through the weeks. We are dealing with matters that we need to deal with, and we are trying to get through this pandemic. Our main priority, of course, is the safety and the well-being of our staff and our residents, and we're doing the very best we can do to keep going down this road. So thank you for everyone's hard work, and we'll be hearing more information tonight. So we will officially call our meeting to order. And I ask any members of council if you have any pecuniary interest with any of the matters we're dealing with.
No, sir.
No matter here.
Okay, seeing no hands, we have the agenda that is before you. Somewhat brief, but it is very important that we follow it to the letter to the best of our ability. So I would take a motion to approve the agenda that is before us, please. Heather moves the motion, and Sheila is the second. All in favor? That motion is approved. We have minutes from a number of meetings before us. A special meeting of March 2nd, March 3rd, March 16th, and the special meeting of the 2nd of April. These were all the meetings, of course, leading up to what we were going to do with the pandemic and how we had to reorganize things, and that's what the meetings were about. Could I have a motion, please, to receive and accept those minutes? Councillor Watt, Councillor Landsman, all in favor? That motion is approved. Business arising out of the previous minutes, and in this section, I've taken the liberty to ask Martina to come up with a report because we have not been together all that much. I've asked her to come up with a report that you've all been privy to. And it is basically an update on what has happened since this terrible situation started and the hard work that our staff have been doing behind the scenes. And Martina, I'm going to ask you to review it. I know we've read the report, but for the benefit of everyone, if you could give us a review, please.
Absolutely. So the report is in front of you. The first part of the report goes through all of the various actions that have taken place since March 11th, when this pandemic was declared, and then since March 13th, when the township became actively involved in this process. While the state of emergency is on for the township and the province, staff have been adapting to this new method of work to mitigate risk and to ensure that services are still being delivered to the residents of our township. Systems have been put in place so that residents are experiencing as little disruption as possible to the services they expect from the township. The goal has been to have business as usual, along with risk mitigation for staff and the public. We have adopted a list of strategies. I'll highlight a few of them. All staff except Public Works, a few administrative staff, and some Parks and Rec staff are currently working from home. All staff are responding to requests and correspondence via email, mail, and phone calls. The central voicemail system is being checked multiple times a day, and calls are routed and returned. Managers have put work plans in place for their staff to ensure that routine operations are being completed along with special projects. The service delivery review and organizational review project is ongoing. Interviews were moved to a teleconference and surveys have been sent out to both council and staff members. Additional cleaning of the municipal office and the public works depots has been implemented along with various physical distancing measures. All meetings with ratepayers and stakeholders have been moved to a teleconference and all travel has been canceled. And the hiring for summer student positions is on hold, and returning part-time staff have been assigned to the Public Works Department to make up the difference in our staff complement. Staff are actively working on reopening the transfer station. As you know, it has been closed for a little bit, with enhanced safety protocols such as debit transactions, limiting the number of visitors at a time, and enhancing traffic protocols. At this time, the work plans for each department are evolving as new orders are released from the province. The emergency control group is meeting on a weekly basis. Management team meetings have ramped up, and updates to staff and council are happening on a constant basis. Staff are actively involved in working in a county-wide discussion on how best to manage the situation, and are working with other municipalities, stakeholders, and agencies to find and implement the best solutions and protocols to ensure business continuity takes place. And I can answer any questions anyone may have.
Lost the volume.
You're muted.
I was muted. Okay, thank you, Martina, for that. Any questions? Go ahead, Sheila.
Yes, through you, Your Worship. Martina, you made comment about part-time staff. Is part-time staff being hired or just put off for the moment?
So our typical summer students that we hire, that hiring has been put off. We did have some winter staff that were working in the Parks and Rec department. Most of those staff have been laid off as their season had ended. And then we had 2 employees from Parks and Rec that have now been transferred to the Public Works department to help with that team.
Thank you.
I do point out too that our emergency control group is meeting at least once a week by teleconference. I think we'll probably go to Zoom now that this works so well. But just for your information, we are doing our best to be on top of things, and we're trying to communicate that to council in the best of our ability. Any other questions? Heather?
Through you, Your Worship. Martina, I noticed you were mentioning the management team meetings are still taking place. Can you please advise if library staff are invited and included in those meetings?
I believe library staff are on receive the agendas. They don't always attend because their schedules are different than our schedules.
We lost the audio.
No,
again.
we lost your voice, Martina.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
There.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. So the library staff are on the agenda, and they do get our notes, but they can't always attend because they work different hours than we do. So
Certainly, thank you. And just one more pointing out, just for the record, in your list of actions that have taken place since March 13th, the special council meeting you have noted having occurred on March 17th. That was when the regular council meeting was actually scheduled. The special meeting happened on the 16th, just for your record.
thank you. I'll make that a change.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Any other questions? Good report, Martina, and that keeps everyone up to date on virtually every step that's happened here during our state of emergency. I know all of our managers are very aware of the distancing procedures, and they're doing a very good job. Could I have a motion? Go ahead, Carl.
The full-time people from the community centers are working on roads.
I'm sorry, Carl, could you repeat your question?
The full-time people from community centers is working on the road in the roads department.
Through Mr. Mayor, no, our 2 community center staff are working for the community centers.
Okay, but they're back doing community center work.
That is correct.
And they will have to soon, of course, do the grass situation for the parks too.
Right.
Okay, motion to receive and approve that report, if you would please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Moher, seconded by Councillor Watt. All in favor? Motion is approved. We have no delegations or petitions. Other business and staff reports. Now, this next request from the Lakefield Triathlon people came in some time ago, and they had requested that we deal with it. Obviously, it's only going to be appropriate if we're not in an emergency and the pandemic is under control and we're back to normal, but we'll need a motion at least to deal with it.
I'd move it.
I'd second it.
Okay, moved by Carl, second. And Carl, are you giving permission tentative on the situation improving? Is that?
Yes, if, whatever the status of the emergency situation at
Yeah.
the time.
Okay.
We can't be contrary to the province of Ontario.
Okay,
Just
so
whatever
that's
is-
a motion that's important. And Sheila, you're okay with that?
I am.
All in favor? That motion is approved as well. Next item, staff reports, financial statements ending March 31st. Are there any questions? Darlene, are we hearing you?
Yes, I hope so.
Okay, if there are any questions, Darlene is here. Otherwise, we will take a motion to receive the report.
I'll move to receive the report, Your Worship.
Moved by Heather, thank you very much. And a seconder by?
I will second.
Second by Mr. Watt. Any discussion? All in favor? All in favor? Motion is approved. Committee minutes and other reports. Deputy Mayor Moher, an update on county council matters. Is there anything to tell us, Carl?
I don't think there's too much to tell you that you already don't know. There's a meeting going to be tomorrow in the same format that we're working with it today. There'll be more parties involved, but hopefully it'll go well. The emergency group of the county are meeting, I think, every few days. I think you're sitting in on that, Mr. Warden. And Martina, do you get copies of those that you I think there does involve some township people as well from time to time. And there's information in there that is helpful to know where we're at in the pandemic. The other thing is every Thursday at 1 o'clock, there's an OPP meeting that's not really county, but it includes all the townships. And you may have noticed the OPP have been out and about. They've been up to our boat launches at Crow's Landing and McCracken's on a regular basis. According to a resident at Crow's Landing, they see them daily, if not more than once a day. So that's good, keeping an eye on things, because as warmer weather comes along, there's going to be more and more people that are not following the rules. And I think the message was made pretty loud last Thursday that I think the OPP are going to be charging from now on, in most cases. There won't be the grace notice period of people violating the rules. And that'll get more pressure on that as the weather gets better. There's no information yet from the province that there might be any relief relative to some of those policies. Jay, you might be able to fill us in further on that, but I think you're inundated with emails and phone calls of angry nature about people wanting to do this, that, and the other thing at the lake, but a lot of them don't seem to understand the policy that you're supposed to stay in your home area where their services are better, hospital services, better all kinds of services if you get sick with the virus. And so that's about it. Not a whole lot.
I could add just a couple of quick things, Carl, if I may.
Sure.
The county control group are meeting twice a week. A lot of detail is discussed there. There is a lot of work going on with all the townships. The roads department people meet on a regular basis. The finance people meet on a regular basis. The CAOs are getting together on a regular basis. It's important that everybody in the county be on the same page as we react to this. And of course, yes, I've been in the middle of all kinds of discussion, controversy, all kinds of things over our request to have people stay at their permanent residence. This is not about not wanting cottagers here. This is not about not appreciating the tax dollars that they contribute to all of us. They're our lifeblood. It's not about that. It's so far above that. It's about saving somebody's life, and it's about stopping this virus from going any further. So if there's anyone out there, and I know there are, who have lots of criticism about the moves we make, trying to keep people away from the cottages, it's nothing personal, believe me. We're trying to control the virus, and we're trying to save somebody's life. So if everyone understands that, and if we all do what we're supposed to do, we will get over this, and we'll be able to use our cottages, etc., for a much longer period of time. But the more we delay it, the more problems we're going to have. Okay, that is it. Everyone is doing their job out there, and we're trying to keep everyone informed to the best of our ability. Committee reports, historical committee minutes from 2019 are before you. Sheila, I don't think there's anything. Did you want to report on those?
No, only that I'm assuming because of the dates on the minutes that it's probably a housekeeping matter. Am I correct, Crystal? Thank you. No, I have no concerns about that.
And thank you for housekeeping, Sheila. Okay, we have no bylaws. We have a couple of action items. Sorry, Crystal. Did you want to say something?
I was just wondering if we could get a motion on those minutes, please, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, on those minutes, I'm sorry, we didn't receive them. Tom is going to move it. Sheila.
Both of them, both sets.
Both of them.
Yes.
Okay. Tom and Sheila, all in favor? Motion approved. Where were we now? No bylaws. Action items, Baker Tilly about the audit planning report. This is simply to receive that. This is normal stuff, and that we direct the appropriate signatures be applied to that document. Who would make that motion, please? Carl?
Yep.
Seconder? Heather? Any discussion?
Just a quick question, if I may, Your Worship. Darlene, are you content with the contents of the letter and the files that they sent?
Yes, it was an onerous audit, as you all know, but we're actually into the 2019 audit already, so it'll be much better.
Good.
Keep your fingers crossed that I stay healthy.
We've all got our fingers crossed for you.
Yes.
But that's no, it should go much better this for 2019.
Thank you.
Okay, that motion is on the floor to receive it and apply the appropriate signatures. All in favor? Motion is approved. We also have correspondence from the town of Midland. What is your choice? Carl?
I move to receive it in light of the whole pandemic thing. I don't know how you push this limit to that level.
A seconder to that motion?
I would second that.
Sheila, is there any
Yeah.
discussion on that motion? All in favor? All against? Okay, motion is approved. Correspondence information items. We're looking at items 11.1 to 11.6. We'd have a motion to receive all of those, and if you want one pulled out, we can do that. A motion, please.
11.6 I like pulled out.
Okay,
I'll make a motion for them all if you'd like that, Mr. Mayor.
yeah, we'll do that, Tom. Good, thank you.
I'll second that.
And second by Sheila, Tom and Sheila. And 11.6, Carl, you want to discuss? Go ahead.
And my point I make, and that's regarding the public meeting for the budget. We prepared our budget pre-pandemic. I'm not comfortable going to the public with a pre-pandemic budget, especially with the number of items that we're looking at, especially on the Parks and Rec. Just highlight that because like there's even the resolution there at Midland. Like we're going to be faced with some tough questions, tough decisions down the road here relative to our spending. And I think if we don't react before we have to react, it's better to be proactive than reactive. So I don't know whether other members of council feel or not, but I'm quite nervous going to a public meeting with that proposal.
I guess my thought on that, Carl, is two things. Number one, if we don't have a budget approved, we're not going to be able to collect any taxes. And the tax notices should be going up very soon. And if we don't have any money come in, we're going to be in real bad shape. Now, by approving the budget, it doesn't mean we have to do all the things in the budget. Council can remove anything we want at any time. So it seems to me we're going to have to kind of bite the bullet and be responsible. And if there is something in there that we shouldn't be spending, a major project or whatever, then I think it's council's responsibility to simply not do it when it comes to that. But it's important that we have a budget passed or there'll be no money coming in the door at all. Heather?
Through your worship, I definitely feel your sentiment around that as well. I can tell you that the library board has a meeting planned for tomorrow with the sole purpose to look at our budget request of council to see if for either logistics reasons or just simply budget reasons, there's anything that we would look at deferring or removing from our budget in light of the pandemic and state of emergency that we're in presently. I would hope, and this is a question to staff, that in the upcoming presentation on May 5th, that there are particular if there are particular items that due to logistics really can't be done, that those items are at least flagged. So I'm thinking some of the major, road construction projects that we thought when it was presented, it was an ambitious schedule And now, we're that much farther behind in terms of our time and resources to be able to fulfill all of those items. So I would hope that something comes back to council during that presentation that identifies some of those projects that may not be able to reach full completion during this year, so that we could make those decisions therein.
And will allow us to pass a budget to keep functioning. That's,
Yeah.
I'm with you. Tom and Sheila, any comments?
Yes, if I may, Your Worship. I agree with Councillor Watson. There are things that we may need to relook at and adjust, because this is way different times than we're normally used to. And I just would like to make one other comment. In the press release, it says that the township would like information back the prior week. I'm not sure how ratepayers would be able to give questions a week prior to seeing the presentation. I know they could read it online or request copies, but I don't think that reading it online or requesting copies is the same as hearing a presentation in real time.
And as you said, Sheila, these are not normal times. Everything we do is the first ever. And, if things aren't done exactly maybe the way we'd like them, people are going to have to understand. And every municipality in the province, in the world, is in the same boat. So all we can do is the best we can do and be as responsible as we can be.
I'm sorry, may I have a part B to that question, or to my response?
Go ahead.
I'm not sure, Darlene, whether you're the one to answer this or not, but or Martina, what is our situation if we do decide to all of a sudden revise the budget midstream?
Like after we pass it?
Yeah.
We can just postpone projects if we wish. A lot of the capital projects, you have to remember, are from reserves, so it doesn't affect the tax rate.
Right.
But to start, I'll just put in my how I feel. To start redoing the budget at this point, it's going to be it's not a simple job just to change.
No, I understand.
And a couple of things. The road crew has been on the job all the way through this pandemic, and are keeping things the way they should be, and doing some brushing and stuff like that, getting started on the roads projects. If we'll have to change the bylaw for billing and whatnot again, or we will have to change it because of the due dates. We'll never get the budget changed and passed. But it would be like starting all over again. We've done 4 presentations, I believe, so far, 3 or 4. So it would be like starting again if we change the budget.
Again, we have all the power in the world not to do a project or not to buy an item, even though it has been approved in the best case scenario budget. We still don't have to approve. Carl and then Tom.
My intention was not to do a complete new budget. I think the suggestion made by Heather was to look at some capital items that could be deferred off to another time. But I guess I'd like to know before the public meeting what are the projects that we're planning to do that with, because I wouldn't want to sit at a public meeting and somebody ask a question of me and I have to say, I don't know. Well, I'd like to know in advance what's being considered for deferral. And certainly the roads people, we want to continue with that, but some of these capital items, like the ballpark, the $50,000 there for the drainage, there's probably not going to be any ball in Douro Park this year because of every other sport being canceled. So putting that off to next spring, there's $50,000 there somewhere, whether it comes from reserves or from the taxpayer, it comes from somewhere. It comes from taxpayer at some point. So I think we have to have some kind of, it would be nice to have a quick Zoom meeting before the meeting so that we have a good appreciation of what's being considered here, because after the department heads have had a chance to look at it.
And that's absolutely fine. I'm just trying to say that we need to approve a budget so we can have some money coming in. Tom?
Exactly. No, my thought on that was, we do have to proceed with the budget. We have done it in previous years. We've had to defer something to the next year. A project doesn't get finished, a piece of equipment can't be sent to us on time, so it gets deferred to the next year. I have no problem with doing one of those things. I just don't want this to get too carried away with the safety of people in mind. I don't want this to get too carried away that we don't do a whole bunch of these things this year, because then next year we're going to be that much further behind again because we had an aggressive schedule this year and just using the roads, for instance. It'd be nice if we can get as many of those projects done as possible with consideration to people's health and safety. I don't want to have any of that coming into effect, but we don't want to fall behind even further either, because then next year we're going to be this year's projects and that puts us a year behind. So being cognizant of that, I really want, get this budget passed and then we can adjust it as necessary.
Martina.
If I could, oh, sorry.
Martina?
I just wanted to say that because not all of our managers are on this call right now, some of them may be watching live on our YouTube channel. It would be great if staff had time to consider the information that council has just presented and then come back to council with some information. We don't want to make decisions on the fly here.
Oh, no.
Heather, I'm sensing you're going to come up with a common sense motion here. I just feel it.
I am happy to do that. Just, however, through you, a question to our treasurer. The motion or the recommendation is to move forward with the public meeting, which I'm happy to make. However, I'm curious what the next steps are in a typical process, assuming we're not making substantive changes to the budget. Is this the last and final public meeting, or are we planning on having a second public meeting beyond the 4 meetings that we've already held?
No, Darlene?
Would normally be, this would be our final meeting, and the bylaw is ready, and it will be part of the regular council meeting to be passed. So basically this would be the final, because they've all been public meetings, if we really consider also public meetings before council meetings. And so yes, that would be for our final. Because if we go for another 2 weeks, again, we're looking at a short time frame there to get the tax bills out.
And remember,
Okay.
these are very unusual times, and I'd be so surprised if anyone out there didn't understand the predicament we're in, and that we're going to do the best we can do under the circumstances. Heather?
So, Your Worship, I will make the motion that I think we were just receiving these items anyways, but that we move forward with the public meeting electronically as prescribed in the notice.
Okay, thank you. Crystal, did you have something to?
Sorry, just before Councillor Watts makes that, we do have a motion on the floor from Councillor Watt and second by Councillor Landsman to receive information items 11.1 through to 11.6.
We'll do that first then.
Thank you.
We're going to vote on that to receive them all. All in favor? Okay. And now Heather's very well worded motion is to continue with the public meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, as outlined on Tuesday, May 5th, and that we seek comments from the public under these new circumstances.
And suggestions from staff were appropriate to try to go with the flow. Seconder to that?
I'll second it, and I do have a question.
Okay, go ahead with your question.
The council meeting is at 5 o'clock and the public meeting is at 6. Am I correct?
Correct.
So are we liable to be passing the bylaw before we've had the public meeting?
No.
Okay. Just
No,
wondering.
do that. Carl?
Now, I assume we'll have prior input from staff, from department heads before the public meeting of considerations.
Darlene or Martina?
We'll be having a meeting with the managers and we can ask if there's project. I think the managers will want to know are we reducing roads projects or if we had.
Well, I don't think we'd be reducing road projects that are underway in our plan, but there's lots of other expenditures that, as Carl said earlier, about drainage in a baseball field that we probably won't be looking at for a long time. So those kinds of things. Carl, isn't that what you're suggesting?
Yes, that's right. Because some of those road projects, a good portion of them are carried forward from 18 and 19.
So we need to go with
So
those.
there's a big backlog we got to get caught up on.
Okay.
There is, excuse me, I'm sorry, because I can't put my hand up, but, there are a few things too that through the Park and Rec that's a couple of years old, so maybe
Yep.
we'll for sure not postpone those ones.
Well, we'll count on the managers. Martina, we'll count on everyone to come up with their suggestions prior to this to try to reduce the impact during these tough times. Martina?
I would just like to say that while we may make suggestions of projects that may need to be deferred, we would want to keep most of those projects in the budget themselves, though, because some of them are coming from reserves or from development charges and gas tax and other sources that wouldn't actually affect the tax rate. And if we can keep them in the budget and we have them in our plans, then we can adapt the plans as time goes on. But we wouldn't want to take things out, because if this gets better, which we all hope it does, we still want the opportunity to move forward with all of those projects we have on deck.
Well, I think there's a happy medium here. I think we've made it clear what it is we would expect staff to be prepared for. And let's come up with some compromises. Are we okay with that?
One further question. Back in February, I think at our third budget meeting, I had some questions regarding the total salary and benefits. I provided input to you, Darlene. Would you be able to get back to me with those information at some point?
Further information than I gave?
I haven't received anything from my input to you.
Okay, let's deal with that then. If Carl and Darlene could get together privately with perhaps Martina and get that ironed out, is that
I
fair?
just need to reply to what I left.
Okay. Okay, motion on the floor then. A well-worded motion, Heather, I might add. All in favor? That motion is approved. Thank you. Okay, we do have a notice of motion, but Carl, I believe under the circumstances, go ahead.
Crystal, do you want to?
Crystal, what? Yes?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, could we just go to item 12 on the accounts before we move on to the notice of motion, please?
Oh, sorry, we did miss that. The accounts are in your package up to the 15th of April, so we need a motion to approve the accounts. Tom?
Move and pay.
Heather, seconder. Tom and Heather, any questions?
Yes, if I may.
Sheila?
I got one too.
Okay, page 2. Wait a minute, page 2. Down partway, a third of the way down, there's a Royal Bank Visa, and there's a bunch of different amounts, and then the same thing on a couple of different pages. That seems to be a whole collection of different things, because it seems like an awful lot of money, and I don't quite understand. Is that just paying a bill, or?
Martina, go ahead.
I'm sorry?
So Darlene just had to come to my screen because she was having problems viewing it on hers. But those are all just a collection of typical payments we make through our credit card at the start of every year to update our Adobe and different memberships and things like that. So they're all under the same headings.
Okay, and I have one other question. Page 3, halfway down, there are two additional people to the Diamond software. Is that 2 new users, or?
Martina?
Yeah, so Darlene just mentioned behind me that we were short some licenses for the office, and because of new staffing, we had to sign up for new licensing as well. So those are those 2 new users.
Okay,
Just
Carl?
go ahead.
further
Carl.
question on the Diamond View. Approximately how much per year do we spend on Diamond View renewals? And if other townships use that, has there been any consideration to maybe have one contract and then have all these townships be basically a branch of that main contract, trying to get some economies of scale?
I can't answer that right off the top, but we can look into that and get back to you.
Sure. I had a second question, or second comment. I just want to make sure Darlene's aware that the county levy, the payment of the levy to them, they have provided some relaxation of timelines. And I just want to make sure you're aware of that. I believe that was a decision made a week or two ago.
Yeah, I believe all the township and county treasurers have been on the same page on that. Martina?
Yes, we have received notice from the county regarding the levy.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
might I ask one other question?
Go ahead.
The very last item is and it has nothing to do with the amount of the bill, but it's with regard to drilling and core samples. I wonder if ultimately there will be a report on that.
Martina?
Yeah, we actually just received our report from WSP this week regarding the Edwards Pit project. Jake and I had a call with our consultants, and it's now being sent over to Cambium as council had requested that Cambium do a peer review of those results.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, that motion is on the floor for the accounts. Moved and seconded. Crystal, is that correct? All in favor? All against? I've got to start getting used to that, so excuse me. It takes some getting used to. Okay, yes, Carl, under normal circumstances, had a notice of motion, but Carl, under the circumstances?
I'd like maybe a resolution of council to defer this to perhaps October, November of this year.
When things get
It's
back to
not
normal.
when things hopefully get back to normal. So if it's permission of council, I would move that we defer this notice of motion to maybe the first meeting in October to reconsider.
Seconder? Tom?
Sure, yep. That's what Carl's wishes are, yep.
All in favor? Good, approved. No new business. We have no closed session. And we have a confirming bylaw 2020-25 to confirm the proceedings of this, our first visual Zoom meeting in township history. Who would like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Sheila? Heather?
Sure.
Is the seconder. All in favor? Motion is approved, confirming bylaw and a motion to adjourn. Carl and Tom.
Yep.
Okay. All in favor?
Yep.
All in
Sorry.
favor? Good.
Sorry.
Motion approved. And
May I
that
ask
will
one last-
conclude our meeting.
May I ask one more thing before we conclude? It's about
Probably
meeting.
not, but you should have not done that before. Yes?
Well, I just seeing this as our very, very first one. Can someone give an outline to the public that's looking at this, if they have questions or concern on it, how they get a hold of the township or who they contacted the township to ask questions on our first meeting?
To ask questions about this
Would
meeting?
yeah, like on this meeting, yes. I mean, so people from the public, they can see it, but now if they have a question on it, can they email into Martina or Crystal or?
All that
what is the
information,
report?
all that information would be on our webpage, telephone numbers,
Okay.
names. That
Yep.
would be what they would do. This is live as we speak now. It's also recorded and it is on the YouTube channel forever, if that's the case. Yeah.
Yes,
So,
it is.
they can contact the township at any time to ask anything they want. Yeah. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, that will conclude our meeting. I want to thank members of council. This is a first for everyone and everyone who tuned in. And we hope we do get back to something resembling normal in the not too distant future. We are in a state of emergency and we're doing the very best we can to proceed. So I will officially end this meeting, and I would like to thank all staff, all our first responders, our volunteer firefighters, our roads crews who've been out there day and night doing their job. And we hope everyone else will abide by the distancing rules. And please stay safe. We are all in this together, but we have to stay apart. Thank you all, and good night.
Good
Night.
Night.
Right.